이것이 하늘의 검!
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. 2016 League of Legends KeSPA Cup. Last game of the night coming up because JINAIR Green Wings finally hit their stride and find something that works to bring it back against the Rock Tigers.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of that came from Teddy, and he had an immaculate performance on that Varus here in game number 2, and JINAIR Green Wings, they responded really well to the Rock Tigers' mistakes, and they were able to punish adequately, and from that, they recovered and stabilized and got to a point where the team comp issues of the Tigers from the pick and ban phase really started to surface.
And you can really see a few of those issues, one of which, surprisingly, being Peanut. By many considered to be one of, if not the best jungler in LCK, coming up with these flashy ways to engage and pick off straggling members, but this time nothing worked out for him.
Yep, and I mean, honestly, I said it last game, and I'll say it again, it felt like Peanut was going for plays that were a little too reckless, and they didn't really give the Tigers as a team enough return on them. And so it ended up in some situations where Peanut would end up dying, and then he was basically the front of his team, and without him, they really couldn't do much without Smeb having his equalizer.
Now, interestingly enough, no substitution changes coming in here for our final game of the night. Cry will get to redeem himself here in game number 3. Picks and bans should be starting up immediately, and you have to wonder whether or not Varus is going to be left up on the table.
Well, I don't expect it to be, given how influential it has been in both games tonight. Now the Rocks Tigers, though, they will be on the blue side, and we'll see what they have in store for us. So first ban of the night for game number 3 will be Echo, and I feel like that's pretty okay. I don't think that the Echo pick in itself was that problematic for the Tigers, but more so the fact that they couldn't respond to it, mostly because of the teleport that was present on Kuzan.
The Lissandra ban, though, actually a lot of respect given to Kuzan, which will keep him from being able to just claw in and blow up that Tigers back line that happened, I think, twice last game.
Yep. And we'll see what the final ban is. And interestingly enough, Elise has been up in all of these games, and we haven't seen Peanut actually default to it, even though he has said time and time again that he thinks he's the best Elise player in the world, and he's probably the best player at playing that champion against a team as passive as JINAIR Green Wings.
Well, that is going to be the Varus, banned out finally for the Tigers. JINAIR closed things out with a Karma, and that leaves this little champion named Jin up. Now, we've seen it be very highly contested previously, but Teddy's always been the one to get it. First picking it even sometimes to try to get him into a good spot. This time it looks like the Tigers might not let him get there by picking it away for themselves.
Yep, and so if that Jin is in fact taken away from Teddy, we're going to have to see what else he has in store for us. Not many other AD carries right now that would really hold up to the ranks of S and A class outside of Ashe, Caitlyn, and Ezreal, so probably expecting to see one of those 3, Ashe being the most expected, but we could always be surprised sometimes.
Well, this is going to be interesting because we won't see Varus, we won't see Jin, and so pressure effectively put on by the Tigers to Teddy's illustrated champion pool. So you mentioned Ashe and Caitlyn could be the picks. Looks like at least the Zyra being thought about. Winged hovering over that Olaf. Now, that's a little worrying, at least to me, remembering back to game number 1, whereas Olaf just was really not that impactful. And as Zyra is changed to an Ashe, at least that pick will go through. Winged looking to hit the Olaf, and it's locked in.
Yep. So that will be an Olaf pick for JINAIR Green Wings, and that's a pick I don't feel too comfortable about because it promotes activity, it promotes aggression, it promotes, outplaying your opponent and getting a lead and being able to enforce that lead over your opponents. And that's just not something that, when you look at it from that point of view, that you would normally attribute to the JINAIR Green Wings.
Certainly not. And I mean, Winged is a very storied jungler, especially from his time playing in Brazil, where he was one of, if not the best jungler in the region, coming over here back to LCK and struggling on Olaf, one of a very meta pick, but not one that's worked out. Now, Peanut laughing as he hovers the Rengar pick. I certainly don't think that, at least on this current patch, Rengar will be chosen, and there is the change to Lee Sin, which makes a little bit more sense. Peanut looking to redeem himself as it's locked in.
Yep, so another Lee Sin pick for Peanut, and he didn't have a mechanically bad performance on it. At the point where we saw that he couldn't do anything, that was just because at that point he really couldn't do anything,
right,
because of how strong the JINAIR Green Wings were. Now, if he doesn't go for as stylish plays as he did in the previous game, or plays that are a little bit more reckless, then maybe we can see him transition a lead for his team into just a very successful and clean closeout.
Now this is interesting, the Kennen Victor. Now we've seen what Kuzan can do on Victor, so that at least initially seems scary to me, but the Kennen pick for Teddy, or by Teddy for Sohwan to go up against Cry means that we're not going to see a whole lot of just passive farming. That's going to be pretty cool lane to watch.
Yep. And right now, the Alistar and Vladimir hover. So Alistar would promote certainly a lot of aggression in the bottom lane, being able to basically pull that trigger at any second, and if Peanut shows up, it can get really hectic. The Vladimir, though, a little bit more passive, but Vladimir does tend to fare pretty well against double AP compositions in that, he's able to itemize with a lot of magic resistance and a lot of hit points, and that's very problematic for magic damage dealers to try to whittle down.
Certainly is. Gorilla closing things out with an Alistar, a pick that we haven't actually seen highlighted this tournament, so it's going to be interesting to see him pilot that against the last pick, which will be a support for the JINAIR Green Wings. It's kind of rare to see those chosen for the last and probably possibly counter pick. So Che hovering that will be double melee supports against each other, and that's actually going to be pretty exciting when you consider how different it is from game number 2's duo, which is very poke heavy. This is all about looks to see some crazy engages from JINAIR.
Yeah, one of the things that does worry me a little bit though is that as the game draws on longer and longer, it should be increasingly more difficult for JINAIR Green Wings to get those flank teleport wards up for Kennen, given that it's a red side Kennen, and the blue side jungle, when trying to do Baron control, generally is very difficult for a red team to try to control unless they have an already advantage over their opponent.
Well, that's going to do it for our champion picks and bans, coming in here to the final game of our time here in Seoul for the round of 8. One of these teams will be advancing to Busan, the other will not. So a lot on the line, everything for one of these teams. Tigers, they are certainly the favorites maybe coming into this series, but after yesterday's games, that doesn't mean anything. After the last game, it doesn't mean anything. JINAIR tied it up and look incredibly even, and there you can see them on your screen. Sohwan, Winged, Kuzan, Teddy, and Che. The final picks, the final bans, final teams, and that is going to do it for our setup. So get out there, tell your friends, hashtag KeSPA Cup and hashtag RoxWin, JAGWin, to show your support as we get into our last game of the night. Game number 3 starts right now. Always love the cheer wars as we get in onto Summoner's Rift for our third game of the night. Rox Tigers in the blue. On the left-hand side of your screen, Prey walking forward, will get slowed out a little bit. Undertow chains could come through. There's the exhaust committed. Prey really close to that turret. A big flash in for a huge knock-up turnaround. This is the craziest start to a game we've seen yet this KeSPA Cup, and it's not stopping just yet. Smed flashing forward to burninate the countryside. Teddy pretty low. Is he low enough? It's Peanut to fly in for the first blood with a resonating strike onto Teddy.
Yeah, that was a super clean, responsive play by the Rox Tigers, and you really have to wonder why this happened. Maybe both teams actually, during the downtime, looked at the opening that the Tigers did from game number 1, and so now they did it again in game number 2. Prey being the bait, and you can just see how in harmony all of the Tigers actually are while this is going on. Victor saying, yeah, I'll see you guys later, as Peanut finds his teddy bear for first blood.
There you go, he's gonna grab it, doing an anti-cosplay. Either way, a great initiation. I'm gonna be watching I need somebody to make a gif of that gorilla, just huge knock-up right in the middle of everyone, pushing the go button, and the entire rest of the Tigers team funnel in after. Absolutely insane. So a beautiful way to start this game. This is the first time that we see hints of, back in Season 1, Season 2, when these First Blood and Snowballs were so impactful. Used to see these crazy invades, level 1 team fights were so impactful. We're starting to see it again. Love the action early. So starting out with that First Blood in onto Peanut. He gets an extra longsword to start. How much does that really affect things? Because we've all talked about how maybe vulnerable Olaf can be if he doesn't get ahead.
Yeah, well, the longsword on Peanut to start things off is going to be pretty big because his clear is going to obviously be sped up ever so slightly. And then on top of that, his ability to duel is going to be much greater, and normally he wouldn't have any sort of dueling potential in mid lane or against Olaf traditionally 1v1, but now with that longsword that might actually be able to turn the tides in his favor.
Peanut actually rushed through his jungle camps, didn't actually view them to try to go for a blue buff steal, but a little bit too slow there. Why do you think it is that he misjudged where Wing would have been through his path?
Well, I think that what he was looking for, or what he was expecting maybe Wing to do, was possibly, ow, sorry about that, just try to do a more greedy clear, or maybe try to play a little bit safer given that the level 1 went the way that it did.
Well, he winds up finding the correct path, Wing securing both of his buffs, not having to duel that very strong Peanut early, and now it's actually Wing that's going through Peanut's jungle, even knowing that he did get the stronger start, successfully able to counter jungle a Gromp, and most likely able to get out alive. Peanut's headed that way, but not until Wing is able to get in, get the Gromp, and get out safe and sound.
Yep, and so Winged actually finding some advantages. Oh no, red buff on Peanut.
Oh man, that's going to force his Ghost out immediately, but Peanut able to actually keep pace with it, flashing to tag the red buff slow. The Q to follow up, it's second blood for Peanut as well.
And that was really, really good by Peanut. You could notice how he kept doing auto attacks and then trying to immediately stutter step following every single one to try to keep that distance as close as possible using the slow from the red buff. So we're going to get to see it again. So you can see that the E and the autos go down. He ward hops to stick, and every single time that he autos, you can see him, he's constantly trying to stay on top of Winged to constantly chain those red buff slows.
We return back to live where Kuzan is forced to flash away defensively, just to avoid getting pinched once again. That time Peanut back on duty, finally finding this early aggression that is so effective.
Oh, this is actually really interesting. He smited the wolf camp but elected not to take it, so then they would know when Winged is taking it, and I thought he was actually going to try to maybe look for another 1v1, but probably best not to try to do that, given that he hasn't recalled yet and he hasn't been able to invest his gold into items.
Yep, jungle camps can only be smote once during their lifetime, so if you do smite it, even if you don't kill it and it's smote again, it doesn't like reclaim the wolf spirit. Nope, it belongs to the first guy that got there, and that was Peanut, who does now know exactly where Winged was, at least momentarily. Didn't decide to go and get too greedy to take him out that time, but we still haven't actually seen Peanut recall until just now. And what is that? It's the first item, mobility boots, to further push this advantage home.
Yeah. And so Peanut is basically saying that he is going to be going hard and going very aggressive. And with those mobility boots, after he takes the Wraith Camp, probably going to look to smite that so he knows whenever he is seen on top of a ward, and anytime that he's not spotted, he's going to probably look to go hard.
All right, well, we do see a lot of trading in the mid lane, but as far as CS deficits go, it certainly does seem to be a similar start to this game, to game one, where the Tigers are off to big leads across the board in pretty much every single lane, with the exception of top lane, where Swohan does have a brief CS lead over Smeb. Winged up there to try to maybe accomplish something. He'll be spotted out by a pink ward on his way, and that means that it could lead Peanut back to get bloodthirsty. They are heading towards a collision course through the jungle. Peanut will find Winged if he does stick around. Jungler's waiting, watching, and here they go, right into each other, but Gorilla trying to get all the way through the turret, and he will get out. Peanut also disengaging, getting out of that upper jungle as well.
Yep. And I really like what they're trying to do. They know that Kuzan doesn't have Ghost, he doesn't have Flash Up, and so any sort of roams that can actually come out of Gorilla with that exhaust and the Flash Pulverizer, just even a basic Alistar combo depending on where he is. 3-mans are a very, very real threat against Kuzan's Victor when he doesn't have any of those summoner spells up and he doesn't yet have the damage to really threaten any sort of dive attempt.
Now here comes Wing, he's going to walk into a 2 versus 1. Peanut totally okay to fight that, and Wing knows it, but he doesn't know about Gorilla. Gorilla will now go in, does get the knock up. Wing trying to get out of here, but Cry's right there to help out as well. An equalizer as on top of everything, and now Peanut very low, but it looks like he'll be okay. Sohan trying to take him out. Peanut flashes forward. He's actually in a decent spot to be bodyguarded by Gorilla. They can't see into the bush, and now it's Sohan gonna get locked up. Peanut safeguarding back away to get the glory to the rest of his team. It's a pause! During the middle of the fight, Sohan about to fall. But something goes wrong.
What just happened right now, that would be one of the worst spots for a technical difficulty to ever occur. And you just saw the look on Gorilla's face, and something's going on.
I've only seen one game paused in the middle of a fight so crucial. As this is an insanely good start for the Rocks Tigers. They find that crazy early first blood. They also find 2 kills later on. Peanut's going off. He's able to just barely survive what looked like his certain death. And now Sohwan's about to die for the 4th kill coming in on the Tigers. You can see at least Prey thinks this is absolutely hilarious. So hopefully it is actually a funny little accident.
Pray hope. Well, the Tigers better hope that it's not something actually serious, because right now.
All right, it appears like Sohan's mouse was having some issues, as if it was moving on its, either moved on its own, or I mean that's the excuse. That's every time I die LS, my mouse is just like moving on its own. So
lag.
If it just would not do that, I'd be Challenger Young.
Oh,
and then
man.
we're just going to leave that there. Either way, it certainly does not appear as if Sohwan's going to make it out of this alive, with or without his mouse acting correctly. However, I just want to know, like, the situation, like, how do you realize that you're in the middle of the enemy team? You're like, yeah, I need to click. I can't click that. Oh my God. Why
Actually, my shuriken missed on Peanut, so I'm going to have to pause the game here.
Yeah, I mean, clearly a mouse issue. And of course, we're making kind of light of that to keep this a little bit jovial, but it is certainly a serious issue, so I don't want to trivialize that by any means. At least to take stock of the way things have started off. This game has been incredibly action-packed, and kind of interesting to see that because for JINAIR Green Wings, they've always been the late-game team, the passive team, not looking to make any of this action happen, and they were the one to go for this early 5 versus what they thought was 1. Turned out to be a 5v5. They got turned around on them. Now Peanut trying to... trying to do something. I don't know. This guy's actually hilarious, so it's awesome to see him be able to showcase his skills so dominantly.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, it looks like the players are actually able to talk during this pause. So,
or
something unconventional is happening. Now, JINAIR Green Wings, the look on their face is just, they're all looking very distraught. I think they know that if they... Well, I don't know what is their thought process is right now. They know that Sohan is probably about to die right now, which that will be a 4-0 gold lead and almost a 3,000 gold lead at 7.5 minutes, which in pro play is pretty game-breaking. So if they're not granted a remake, or if the pause is not worthy of a remake, they all know what that probably means for them, because this is already spelling disaster at 7.5 minutes.
Certainly pretty disastrous, especially when you consider that jungle matchup. Peanut just absolutely destructive, living in Wings jungle. It's already taken him out there at the buff, and you can really see it's not just the Peanut show. Gorilla even there as well to really help him out, and looks like the referees are taking a look at the video feed to try to see whether or not the mouse movement was either erratic or contributed in some way to Sohan's untimely demise. And it does look like they will be reaching a conclusion very soon. So we don't have to wait in suspense for very much longer.
The question that we really have to ask ourselves is, at what point now... I mean, if we're playing devil's advocate for Rock, no, because this has actually happened before in other esports inside of Korea, and remakes are a very scary thing at the professional level. And obviously, if it really does impact that fight in some way that would be game-shattering, then yes, a remake is a pretty serious thing. But if the mouse goes out of control at a moment that Kennen would just get away, I mean, is that really impactful enough to force a restart? And so
looks like we are actually going to
touchy
take
situation.
Yeah, exactly. Super, super careful consideration being handled by our referees. Sorry for interrupting. I'm just going to announce that we're going to take a quick replay of this situation and try to figure out exactly what was going on. So should be throwing that up there on your screen here in just a second to try to consider this situation for ourselves. Always kind of interesting to see exactly what happens. So as we get through into this replay, we'll be able to see Sohwan's positioning and maybe if he took a few erratic movements and see how much that did impact things. So
yeah,
should be getting that back up on your screen as we continue to wait for the referees to throw back their decision.
And I actually look forward to seeing the replay as it does unfold. And this would be heartbreaking for the Tigers if a remake is the decision that is made by KeSPA. And you can see also that the mood in the Tigers booths seem to have gotten a little bit more serious. And here comes the replay. So Peanut and Gorilla fighting over this red buff. Peanut manages to steal this away from Winged. We do know that that is the case. Now, all eyes on Snowballing right now. So you can see the Shuriken hits Peanuts and he auto attacks. He moves a little far forward and a lightning rush comes out. But at what point would a mouse movement maybe right there? But it's hard to say if that auto attack actually would have executed Peanut. Maybe that is where they're talking about, but even at this point, Gorilla has Flash. No matter what, Sohwan is going down, but it would come at the cost of Gorilla's Flash. Is that really remake worthy?
This is where the decision is to unpause the game and have them flash just to make sure that it's even. No, that would definitely not be the ruling. But either way, you can see that at some points he is hesitant to maybe walk in, walk out, and does. It seems to be make the decision to do it, but
sure. But there was no instance that presented itself. I mean, at least from my point of view, if we go frame by frame, there is almost no scenario where the mouse having 100% fluid control, if that was even the case, would have really changed too much. And I don't even think that Peanut might have died there to an auto attack. Maybe he would have, but no matter what, Sohwan's not getting out as long as Gorilla is willing to blow that flash. And at this level of play, you know he's going to do that.
Especially from that level 1 5v5 where he was zero hesitation, saw JINAIR grouped up and went in for the huge knockup. It was either 4 or 5 man, it didn't count, but it was actually insane. So looks like KeSPA referees are reaching a conclusion at the moment. So we should be able to convey that conclusion to you and get this game back underway. Do want to take our time to be as careful as possible, so we appreciate your patience as we do resolve what is a very complicated issue. Not a whole lot that we can do to turn back time. Almost makes me sing the song in my head, but do want to make sure that we get this decision right. So we'll be able to pass that on to you guys as soon as possible. So in your mind, LS, this should not be a remake, or depending on what's happening, it certainly seems like a difficult decision.
I mean, from my point of view, I don't think that it should be, because I feel like no matter what, we almost have the same turn of events that would end up unfolding, and this is a very, very big advantage for the Tigers that is extremely unnatural to occur this early on in the game. And at this level of play, it's really difficult to recover from this type of a deficit if you are the JINAIR Green Wings or any team, really. And so it's a very tricky situation. I understand why, obviously, a remake needs to be considered, but this feels a little wrong, and definitely you have to wonder how it would affect the mentality of the Tigers if a remake is indeed forced off this situation.
Well, Prey was laughing and pretty happy about everything earlier. Now is looks to be somewhat more pensive. So we'll see exactly what is decided, and of course convey that decision to you guys as soon as possible. But at least for the time being, things are going okay. we are certainly still super excited and should be able to get back into things. At least as far as when things do unpause, it does appear as if Sohwan is pretty dead, and if we do unpause and just continue with business as usual, then that would mean that nothing really would happen off the back of that. So if this is the decision to just go ahead, unpause, and play things out, what do you think is going to happen next as soon as things get back underway?
I mean, as soon as the unpause does occur, we're probably going to have Smeb just walk back up to top lane, pick up 2 waves of CS over Sohwan. So the gold deficit it's going to be about 3,000 gold after Sohwan falls, and then after Smeb returns to the top lane and eats up that CS and Prey returns down to bottom.
Looks like we are going to require a few more minutes for the KeSPA referees to reach their decision. Do you want to make sure to deliver the right one? So because it will take them additional time, we may be going to a quick pause to allow them to do that to whatever degree of thoroughness they need to reach to be confident of it. So just a heads up, that may be what is in our future. In the meantime, before we head out, we will actually be heading out to a quick break. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back as soon as we have this pause resolved. So we thank you for your patience, and we'll be right back. So as soon as that does reach its completion, we will communicate to you the final verdict and proceed with our final game of the night. This is certainly coming down to the wire, and it seems like even though the Rocks Tigers are in a very strong position, we do want to see it. Players on your screen, you can see the JINAIR coach Juan.
Yeah, and I don't know if he's trying to argue his case, but I mean, I will still stand by the verdict that nothing changes there. At least that's my point of view. And honestly, I question, I understand from a tournament life point of view why you would certainly have to argue it. But this is a sticky situation, and I mean, I'm just thinking back to other famous instances of remakes, not even just in League of Legends, that KeSPA has been forced to make calls on in the past, going back into StarCraft 1.
Yes, it's certainly a long history. Turns out that when technology is the vehicle of esports, sometimes that has a flat tire. So we're going to have to keep an eye on things here, and we'll be communicating to you the final decision just as it is being communicated to the respective parties from both teams. So we should have that to communicate as soon as possible. So I believe as people concur and the coaches walk to and from, what impresses you about this series so far? What has been your favorite moment, LS?
I mean, of the series thus far, favorite moment was getting to see Varus AD carry. I feel like that's an AD carry that I guess was very overlooked for most of Season 6. I mean, strong to a close right now. There are changes in the works for Season 7.
Does look like the referees are going to make an announcement on their position, and that'll be communicated to us shortly. So sorry to interrupt you, LS, but it does look like we should be in the home stretch of the revelation of what is to come. I know we're all waiting sort of with bated breath. Some of our breaths more bated than that initial team fight.
Yep. And so, I mean, Varus, getting to see him and getting to see what he can do is always interesting, and it seems like the refs are going to make a call. They move towards the stage.
They've had their little huddle. We're like casting the actual IRL huddles for everybody out there who cannot see with us, which is why, by the way, you guys should come down to the Nexon Arena and watch these games live. Audience is totally sold out today. I actually had several people tweet at me and ask if there's any way to get in here. I was like, no, everything is totally packed. And what a night to have so many spectacular games. We already had our first series of the night that did see SK Telecom just rolling their way into the semis down at Busan. And now this series seems to be taking sort of the road less travel. It's taking us all the way here to this deciding game number 3. So we've seen the referees have their huddle. They have all gone back from whence they came to communicate exactly what is going on as we get slow motion zoom ins of all of our players, or zoom outs in the case of
maybe the players are actually being told the decision right now. I'm not quite sure. Seems like they're listening for something.
Well, smile emerging there from Prey's face.
I like how Prey looked like he was trying to listen to something and he barely lifted that soundproof earmuff.
I don't know if that counts or not. As the results are communicated to the players, we'll be able to communicate them to you here certainly as quickly as possible. Now, I think my, favorite moment watching Cry's Snake on a Plane in game number 1 is Cassiopeia was actually so sick. And on the other side, just to be fair to Kuzan, his game 2 performance on Lissandra was the most damage I have seen out of that champion in a while, because it's the one of the first few times I've seen Lissandra out here in a while. So nice to see some rarely seen champions come out, or come back in their cases, and perform very, very well. So JINAIR found the magic recipe. They mixed up their elixir in game number 2, and it came out as a tasty, sweet victory. This game does not seem to be going their way. That's when you try to crack the egg in the recipe and you get some shells in there. Well, it turns out the shell this time is Peanut, who is off to a very, very strong start. And should note that once the pause timer scrolls down below 6 minutes, it turns yellow, which has just happened here. Of course, once it gets down even lower, it will turn red, and then it will turn, it used to actually go negative. I don't think it actually does that anymore.
No, it does go negative.
It does, okay, so it used to not go negative, and now it does, so. We are still waiting for the referee's decision, which will ultimately decide what will happen, whether or not there will be a remake, or whether or not we will be pausing to see exactly what happened. Ultimately, it's a matter to decide between whether or not it's a mechanical error or a human error, and exactly how that impacts things. This is why I do not get to make these decisions. My tiny little caster brain can barely do math while I'm casting, so.
Well, I mean, how do you really determine if it's a human error unless there's cameras inside of the booth on the player's hands?
And you see his hand just fly off randomly, you're like, oh well.
Unless the mouse glitches across the screen, which should be visible inside of a first-person view, and if you guys don't know, all of the screens are recording for the players, so there is a video of that. I mean, I'm not quite sure what else more there would be to look at, but again, it goes back to the point that Sohan will die no matter what. It doesn't change anything. Maybe Peanut goes down, but even that I think is arguable, because I think he had enough hit points to actually live through an auto attack from Kennen.
Didn't actually catch which auto attack. If it was empowered, then I'm not. It might have been a lot closer, so didn't catch that. But we'll see what the referee's reaction is. Certainly, there is a lot of deliberation through this, so I do appreciate everyone's patience as we attempt to discern what is exactly in our futures. And of course, you can see JINAIR coach just making sure that he is as stoic and stalwart as possible in the face of whatever resolution is returned. And of course, the players trying their very best to, at least for the Tigers, remain a bright and enjoyable team of friends, like they said in their earlier interview.
This is actually reminding me a little bit of a story time in StarCraft 1. There was an instance that occurred once where a professional player actually typed GG before his opponent, and KeSPA offered his opponent the ability to actually win the game, but the opponent acknowledged that at that point the game was certainly over because the GG was typed actually before the opponent had conceded, and the opponent chose not to take the win because they knew that they were behind. And now we're seeing a situation where you know that every player on JINAIR Green Wings knows how far behind they are in this spot. And at this level of play, you're a pro gamer, you know exactly what this spot means, and you know that what the end result is going to be, even if you had control over the mouse. And while it is a very difficult and slippery situation, it's hard to basically watch this unfold, and I don't know, this whole situation makes me very uneasy right now.
I'm mostly, for me, just feeling, or trying to feel what the players feel, because you have to think to themselves, like, there's a lot of emotions, a lot of momentum when it comes to playing games like that. As much as coaching and practice and all of this might, turn the players into mechanical, godlike robots, they are still humans, and especially when it comes to the Tigers and the Prey, as graphically illustrated on your screen, they do have emotions, they feel these feels, and certainly going to be a difficult decision coming forward to see exactly what does transpire from this and how it does affect those players and their reaction to whatever the decision is as it is handed down.
And we're still waiting on the decision by the KeSPA referees. And I mean, until that happens, there's not much more to say. We've shown the replay, we've shown the outcome, and what is likely to happen following a resume. We can expect to see the Tigers propel themselves to a 4,000 gold lead before the 8-minute mark.
Jeepers, LS, that's a lot of gold. I'm not sure exactly what the deliberation is continuing over. Maybe just waiting for a few additional details to solidify exactly how everything is going. But when it is actually handed down, and it does look like we are about to hand that information to you all. Information being handed now to the Korean casters, and we'll be able to translate that for you as soon as possible. So the decision has been made. Drumroll, please. Word for word, or at least interpreted, that decision is the referees have decided that Sohwan's mouse did malfunction after looking at the video evidence. However, they have decided to continue with the match. So there will not be a remake at this time. So after video evidence, Sohwan's mouse did actually malfunction. However, given the proceeding of the match and the situation that it was in, the match will actually continue. So the referees recognize that there has been an error, but after resolving that error, the match will continue with Sohwan's untimely demise.
All right, so we are
back
into the game, and right there, Sohwan just fell, as I said before. Well, a little uncharacteristic, Smab actually not going up to the top lane to push that wave into the turret. Maybe he feels like Sohwan would actually be able to get to the lane in time, and actually, interestingly enough, Smeb, if he returns to the top lane, it looks like the lane is guaranteed to shove into him, and that is on the side of the jungle where Peanut is with his ultimate up. So, Sohwan might actually get ganked immediately if Peanut manages to feel like he has enough hit points, but seems that he does not. But he does have those mobility boots, so we could beeline straight for the top lane.
And that would just be actually crushing. You guys have heard of Mental Boom. That could definitely do it to Sohwan after having such a difficult decision where your mouse is ultimately what causes you to maybe path incorrectly and then to get back to lane and die again because Peanut is just running straight back up there. Be a difficult situation to find yourself in. Instead, Peanut opting to run down towards his red buff, take that, and then get back out on the map. Or skip it. Okay, no, he's going back in. So red buff will be taken here by Peanut, as you can see on your screen. Right, his blue buff is being handed over by Wing to Kuzan. And we're back into the game. So let's go ahead and retrack our minds, get ourselves back into it. What is the situation we find ourselves in? A big advantage for the Tigers. Yeah,
very, very big advantage for the Tigers right now. And Peanut foregoing his jungle item in favor of just raw damage stats. Because typically Lee Sin does get the green smite, which only offers him wards, rather than some sort of combative stats, such as the chilling smite or the red smite. And hold that thought.
Arrow onto Prey, forcing a flash immediately. Wing, though, running straight in onto Gorilla, who will get locked up there with the concussive blows, trying to find the last hit, and they will. Gorilla's mouse there, pathing him right in. In the meantime, there's going to be a big kick in onto Kuzan, who will try to get out, but not in time. He does commit the flash, but will not get out alive.
Yep. So Gorilla falling in bottom lane, however, Kuzan falling in mid lane is definitely a lot more problematic. Cry hasn't even recalled yet.
Wow. Yeah, Cry. I mean, Dorian Shield's a good item, LS. I thought that might have been actually like a spectator thing, but no, he actually just has Dorian's Shield. So maybe he's doing the no item challenge where you just buy once and sit in lane, but he's certainly doing a very good job with it. Now 103, and we're about to get a replay of exactly how Peanut made that happen.
Yeah, and so Peanut actually holding the Q, or maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was just actually some pretty cute timing, coincidental, that Kuzan flashed at the moment that Peanut reactivated. But Kuzan having lost his flash. Yep. And now Cry is finally going to recall, and we're going to have to see what item of choice he actually elects into. We did see a Vladimir earlier on in the KeSPA Cup elect for the Abyssal Scepter first item against the double AP composition. But usually there is the route of, okay, Proto Belt.
Wow, yeah, it's just a one-off Proto Belt buy. In the meantime, while that recall is happening, less pressure in the mid lane for the Tigers. That'll signal even Kuzan to come down and help Wing with this Inferno Drake. It's going to be a 3-man attempt, but Peanuts all the way rushing top lane. Sohan down to half HP will be very, very dangerous. Now, gank top lane better pay off because that is an Inferno Drake for JINAIR. Kick against the wall. Sohan taking too much damage, and he will go down.
Alright, and so off of that kill, it looks like Peanut and Smab going to try to get some tower damage done to this anyway, and with another minion wave coming, they could actually stick here to demand that Sohan uses teleport, and thus through that gaining teleport advantage, but it's hard to really know exactly how much of an advantage that really is, given that Inferno Drake has already gone down to generic Green Wings, and at this point the tower is too low hit points, and certainly going to fall. And are they going to give it entirely to Smeb? Doesn't look like it.
Nope. They will split it up, share the love there, and Sohan will walk back to lane instead of committing that teleport, which he and Smeb both have off of cooldown. No more double TP like we did get a chance to see earlier on in the series, but for the time being, we have seen a lot of aggression from the Rocks Tigers. However, I mean, at least Winged has been able to bring things back, and we're seeing at least some signs of life as another arrow goes out. It will not work out. Winged actually committed Ghost to that as well. So
yeah. That is not something that you want to have happen, so a lot of breathing room granted to the Tigers through that miss by Teddy, and now they're going to bring it back.
Oh, big engage there by Gorilla. Kicks straight into the wall, and a big crit from Prey to find the 7th kill of the game for the Tigers. Gorilla using his ult to tank up that tower as much as he needs to. Che getting locked down and taken out. Peanut putting himself even more on the board.
Yep, Peanut certainly waking up big here in game number 3. Already off to a way better performance than even in game number 2 when just comparing early and mid-game transition. And his Lee Sin is looking enormous here with 100% kill participation.
All over the map, wherever Peanut is, death there to follow. Peanut, the harbinger of Summoner's Rift at this point. Now with an equalizer there, Sohan trying to avoid it. Will get a stun and try to run away there. Smeb overheated, but the flash to follow. Here comes Trey to try to dissuade him. Sohan burning down, and the Q over the wall! Peanut! Everywhere he needs to be. He'd make a great insurance commercial because he is right there with you every step of the way.
JINAIR Green Wings may as well pause and claim that Lee Sin has Twisted Fate's ultimate because Peanut is everywhere, and they can't keep up with him.
It's like the Doom bots where Garen spins out of every single bush. Well, this time it's Peanut. And that has to do something to you as a player where you're about to escape, and out of nowhere, a Sonic Wave comes in here. And now mid lane, more action is Cry. Ghosting, pooling, trying to Proto-Bell himself to safety, and he will. Peanut, during that entire fight, actually ran between the outer and second tier mid lane turrets, trying to look for potentially a kick to get into a better position. Didn't find anything, but he's in there, making sure that he gets as much participation as possible. I believe that is the first situation that he might have not had 100% kill KP, but nothing happened, so he's still right on top of that stat.
Yeah. And so every lane, except for bottom lane, has a CS advantage. And right now, I mean, they're just trying to drive their advantage all the way home. 6,000 gold lead for the Tigers here at not even 15 minutes into the game. Blue buff being handed over to Kuzan, and that certainly will help him basically sustain through the laning phase. But Peanut looking to maybe take that blue buff off his hands and say thank you.
This is where every time I accidentally take the blue buff away from my mid laner and then he goes back to lane and dies, I'm like, yeah, I made the right decision. Yep. We'll see if...
Peanut Prime.
We'll see if Winged did in fact make the right decision. Oh my god, Peanut, don't do it. Okay, he's not going to actually commit for the kill. He looks for the Q and he finds it! Peanut grabs the blue buff right back away, and in the top lane there's more kills coming coming away from JINAIR to the Tigers as Smeb finds another kill. Winged in there for the assassination, but he's not going to make it back to base alive. cry, punishing him for taking out their adorable Peanut and ending his reign of terror on Summoner's Rift, finishing his undefeated spree at 7-0-4. Will be a 7-1-4 with a new bye on the field. We'll let you guys wait to find out what that is.
So this play was really cute. It was characteristic of the plays that began to cost the Tigers in game number 2, but nonetheless, he secures the kill and got the blue buff away from Kuzan.
Top lane, Sohwan trying to find a turnaround in on his prey, and he most likely will. A couple more auto attacks to find it. Needs to get in there. We'll have Lightning Rush up in a second. That's going to be at least one Lightning Harpoon. Okay, well, Teddy, that flash was a little bit anticlimactic, but it is revealed Peanut has bought a Duskblade of Drakthar.
Yep, so Duskblade of Drakthar on Lee Sin here, and that is a testament to how comfortable Peanut is feeling here right now, and that is going to make his ability to 100-0 someone something very scary. Unfortunately, though, Grom, not the target that Peanut probably wants to be fighting, but any other champion on JINAIR Green Wings, with the exception of Olaf, gonna really just fall to him in one combo now.
He's hunting. He is on it, looking for a Q there. He'll find it and actually be able to take away the big Krug away from Wing. Peanut just on the warpath, on a rampage through this JINAIR jungle. Nothing standing in his way. And he's even positioned himself back near mid lane to try to see if he can find another pick in here onto Kuzan. Walking up to the turret, forcing Kuzan. Oh no, no, Peanut. Okay, I'm so scared right now, LS, because he's just going for everything. Still pretty squishy though with all that AD bought early. We'll see if he pays for it or is able to continue to snowball ahead.
Yeah, and another dragon spawning right here. It is going to be Mountain Drake. So now this has a lot of effects right now. It aids them in raising the turrets of the JINAIR Green Wings. But another reason that this is so crucial for them is because Victor is the king of stall. And when you have those Mountain Drakes, it makes it a lot more difficult for Victor to just simply stall against you by wave clearing over and over and over, because you inflict more damage to the turrets. Also, it will certainly help them in obviously killing the Baron when it does enter the battlefield in just a little over 2 minutes.
Ult for ult traded out between the AD carries, Prey and Teddy. Hitting each other with theirs, so no harm, no foul, although Teddy does get the little bit of the worse end of it. He'll head back to base, and the Rocks Tigers will head into this bottom oh, Gorilla might have had the setup for Peanut to find yet more destruction on Summoner's Rift.
And Peanut just basically running a field day over Winged, and there's nothing really he can do about it. Now, they have a pretty big gold advantage right now, a little over 7,000 gold currently, and I mean, Vladimir building a lot of AP, and equally Smeb up there with Leandri's Torment already completed, and you just really have to wonder, how is JINAIR Green Wings really going to hold on when the Tigers group up and look to bring the team fights straight on top of them?
Doing at least their best job at continuing to push every single wave and keep it as far back as possible, but as soon as things like Baron start to spawn in a couple of minutes, I actually looked towards the Baron pit. I was like, why is Rift Herald still around? I'm like, oh wait, we're 18 minutes into the game. So still very, very early on, but Rocks out to a crazy start. I don't think I've seen a game this one-sided this early since maybe week 2 or 3 of LCK. It's been quite a while.
And right now, Smeb in the bottom lane as they have Prey in the mid lane.
Oh my goodness.
Teddy keeps missing these arrows.
And after being so good at hitting arrows in game 2, I mean, there were different kinds of arrows, but still, honorable mention. Now, curtain call, hitting out there. Gorilla popping his ult, but his Alistar ult is not what it used to be, and he is forced to flash even still in the end, just to get out from underneath that second tier turret. Peanut, very confident, does have a Warrior Smite complete on top of the Hex Drinker, on top of the Duskblade.
So while it is really important to note that the Tigers have a pretty substantial gold lead over JINAIR Green Wings, it's also equally as important to really know exactly where is that gold, because it's not inside of Jin, it's not really inside of Smeb. It's mostly inside of Cry and Peanut. So when you see the bottom lane of Prey and Gorilla, or if you see Gorilla just isolated with Smeb, there's not really that big of an advantage present inside of those champions. And so while it does appear that the Tigers are super far ahead, not inside of those are they.
Teddy versus Smeb, who's going to come out on top? It's Smeb! Who at the last second finds the kill. Oh my goodness, that was such a clutch 1v1. I'm not really sure what to think about it afterwards. Oh, Peanut, he finds the Q again!
And that is just Peanut styling on his opponents.
Oh my god, now he's actually gonna see if he can, okay, no, not, okay, well there's the smite, the flash, the Q, he'll find it over to the Krugs, he's healing up off of them, Cry there to buffer, and Peanut lives!
Yep, and Olaf not able to follow that through, and now it looks like Smeb and Cry gonna Peanut!
Oh, they're gonna try to give it to Peanut, but no Smeb there to take it, and the turret goes down!
Oh man. Well, this game has been basically exciting, and if there is ever any textbook example of how good is a professional Lee Sin, you would probably want to show someone this game, because this is almost the pinnacle of what you can expect out of a pro gamer on Lee Sin, and Peanut giving this champion a super impressive performance.
If I'm not mistaken, I believe a few years ago, Rockstar made a game about Peanut's performance called Bully, because that's basically what he's been doing. He walks into the jungle, Wings there, no, you can't be here, get out. Kuzan walks up to top lane, no, you get out of there. I think he's killed Kuzan like solo 3 times or something. It's insane. And Peanut is just actually the most incredible Lee Sin performance we've seen, certainly in KeSPA Cup. Maybe in LCK in recent years. I mean, the Ghost of Insect is calling, but Peanut is on his own level at this point. No, Teddy, you're not going to catch Peanut out that way, but he's still positioning aggressively, looking for these opportunities.
And right now, they look to rotate down to bottom lane and take this turret. They do have a Mountain Drake, so this turret will fall a little quicker than it normally would. And JINAIR Greenwing's not really in a position where they can do anything to this, and all that they're doing is trying to react to whatever the Tigers are throwing at them, and they're having a lot of difficulty juggling all this aggression.
That's pretty much been the name of the game, 16-3 at the 22-minute mark. The stall potential for JINAIR may be there, but with things like Mountain Drake, gonna make it a little bit more difficult, and Baron now spawning and 22 minutes in, and Peanut right on top of it. Baron dropping down incredibly low. Baron, meet your new overlord. It's Peanut and the rest of the Rocks Tigers. They're in there. Winged does not have flash. He's in the area trying to steal with an axe, but it's not going to happen. Of course, Kuzan committing that Chaos Storm to it as well. Not able to steal. So now Rocks empowered with this Baron buff, pushing up the mid lane and trying to put the nail really in the coffin. They've certainly done that so far, but the base in their face, we'll see if they can race it down.
Yeah, and with the Baron buff and the Mountain Drake, and without Victor really having his Chaos Storm, I can't see a way in which JINAIR Greenwings can actually survive this. Peanut getting a little overzealous right there. And they held off one wave,
okay.
But are they going to be able to hold off two? Now, unfortunately, for the Rocks Tigers, Curtain Call is not really something that they can just cast preemptively, because then Shay just responds with Unbreakable.
That would be a great way to block it out there. Rocks inside the base now, Gorilla going in. He will be able to back out. Of course, Wings Ragnarok going pretty far forward. He'll make it out alive, and so low health bars on both sides. Here comes that Curtain Call, trying to find hits. It's just going to be on to Chase, so nothing actually coming of that. Gorilla too low to really stick around all that much, and Winged is able to go back to base and heal.
Yep, they live to see another day, as now they are all recalling Baron enhanced recalls. Mountain Drake again, the spawn from Summoner's Rift.
Oh, Peanut, he's looking for it, and he will jump immediately. Oh my god! So just deleted, and that's Peanut on top of everything. He's a hero, kill hero, hunting season. Peanut finds another victim.
Yep. Peanut with 14 kills out of 17, or 14 kill participation out of 17. Taking a look at this replay again, so JINAIR literally has to use everything they have to survive this siege attempt by the Rocks Tigers. Curtain Call come out towards the end of the fight, mostly because the Unbreakable didn't have too much time remaining, but Prey unable to find anything there.
And now we come back to the current situation. Turret dropping very, very low, and JINAIR not going to find a way to stop it or save it, but now they need to save themselves. Cry in onto the backline. Teddy trying to save himself away from the equalizer. Smeb flashing forward. He'll find one. He finds two. And even though he will go down with a double, it looks like the JINAIR Green Wings are relegated behind their Nexus turrets. Now, Gorilla might fall here as well, and now Cry walking forward gets a big heal and will pull himself out, but here comes Peanut looking for more. There we go. We've got curtain call all over everything. Peanut going forward. The kick not enough to finalize that kill on Dupre. Peanut looking for it. He wants it. He hits the Q, but will not go back in for it.
Yep, they won't go back in for it, but they are knocking on the Nexus turrets, and I don't think that Teddy is going to be able to stop this, and that's probably going to be it for game number 3. Che does come up, so does Wings.
Trying to push Rocks back out of the base to pull away from Cry. I feel like JINAIR fighting forward. Arrow will hit Prey. Cry trying to run back away. He gets a monster heal, and Peanut into the back line for an assassination onto Teddy. Prey actually going down there to the Chaos Storm. He's just standing in it. Kuzan assassinates him. Now it's Cry. Proto belting forward. He's going to pool for a lot of damage there, and Kuzan will just get melted. Peanut claiming that kill as well.
And right now, Wing is going to fall open Nexus. So at this point, they're just trying to farm a little bit of KDA. There's nothing more to it. Gorilla about to enter.
He's just waiting for it, trying to force JINAIR off the fountain, get them into another spot. Peanut's going forward, gets the kick, but not the kill. He dies on the fountain. But with it, so dies the hopes of JINAIR Green Wings. The Nexus will fall, and that will be a 24-7 victory for the Rocks Tigers to punch their ticket to Busan.
And, I mean, now that means that we have SK Telecom versus the Rocks Tigers once again in the semifinals.
This time of KeSPA Cup, of course, for SK Telecom, their fight to win the only tournament they haven't for the Rocks Tigers, really their time to shine and show that this time around things are going to be different. You see Smeb there, maybe taken out of the limelight a little because of Peanut's incredible game number 3. And it'll be interesting to see who does get the MVP here, because while Peanut's performance in this game was actually incredible, this is not the only game in the series.
Right, the MVPs of the KeSPA Cup are decided by all games. It's not just game by game. So while Peanut did have a very fantastic game number 3, everything has to be taken into account.
All right, it looks like we are going to look for potentially a replay of that final fight, just to see once again the crazy engages by Rocks Tigers that slingshotted them into the win. Looking at the damage charts just briefly immediately following that, I believe that actually Crya had the most damage, but let's take a look at what is on our screens for the brackets, the semifinal matchups, and of course the finals, both of which will happen in Busan later on this week. It will be ESC Ever facing off against Hongdu Monster for a chance to fight the winner of SK Telecom T1 versus the Rocks Tigers.
Yeah, and it's so interesting actually. ESC Ever taking down Samsung Galaxy, the world's runner-ups, and Hongdu Monsters, the telecom killers, certainly wouldn't mind going up against the other telecom, SKT1. Perhaps in the finals.
And some very interesting storylines here. Not only the semifinal matchup between SK Telecom and Rocks Tigers, but ESC Ever and Hongdu Monster both coming out of Challenger to the semifinals. And if ESC Ever and SKT make it to the finals, Ever get another chance to play spoiler to SK Telecom's KeSPA Cup legacy, having cut it short the last time around. So we are actually going to head over for what I believe might be either a replay or an MVP interview. We will guide you guys around the closing out of our final series here in Seoul. A reminder, that is a 2-1 victory for the JINAIR Green, or for the Rocks Tigers over the JINAIR Green Wings. Looks like we will be setting up for this. And a quick reminder, if you guys do want to buy tickets to our semifinals and finals down in Busan, you can do so online. Those are the matches you'll get a chance to see this Friday at 5 p.m. Korean Standard Time. And now we're actually going to head over to our MVP interview immediately following it. there's, of course, the link to buy the tickets online. So MVP interview, not going to spoil exactly who it is, so cast your final votes because we're about to reveal our super secret MVP of the series is Peanut.
Yep, and a deserving MVP. Probably that third set helped him a little bit get that.
I would say it contributed, so a big round of applause there for Peanut. Actual oceans of fans surrounding the interview area to show their support here for the Rocks Tigers jungler. So Peanut, you really put on a show there for us in game number 3. What did you think of that match? And Peanut says, I had a lot of fun playing today. I had a lot of fun, especially in the final set. So overall, I just think today's games were really fun. Peanut saying, I had a really good start today, so I think that's how I did it.
So I'd want to ask, is he feeling confident about going up against SK Telecom in the semifinals next week, given that it's a Worlds rematch, in a way?
This will be the second time that we get a chance to see these two teams face off since Worlds, so it'll be interesting to see how Peanut feels about the rematch.
네, 진에어랑 할 때 이기면 스크라고. 네.
Peanut says, yeah, we all were saying if we win this match against JINAIR, it's us against KT. Or up against SKT. And Peanut also adding, you know, I was the one that screwed it up for us in the World Championship semifinals. But as long as we don't get nervous and we play well, implying that they'll find a good result there in the semifinals. Peanut saying, you know, it's definitely an opportunity, so I think of it as a good thing, but I don't necessarily feel terrified just because it's SKT. He just sees it as a good opportunity. And Peanut saying, yeah, it looks like, you know, I can't stop thinking about SKT, whether you like it or not. Captain Jack also saying that he wants to ask about the second game in their best of 3 series, game number 2, that they lost to JINAIR. So asking what the bottom lane thought in terms of their matchup in game 2. And Peanut saying, I think our bottom lane was pretty confident because they were playing Misfortune against Zyra. Although Winged did manage to get a kill on a Misfortune, and Peanut saying, yeah, we definitely didn't expect the Elise to be there to get that kill on the Gorilla. So in conclusion, Peanut said that he still felt pretty confident in the bottom lane's performance, that if he gave them enough support, then they still would have been able to close out the match. Now, the Rocks Tigers head coach is named Nofe, and he was actually really well known for his Lee Sin. Not necessarily in a good way, more kind of infamous for his Lee Sin performances when he used to be a pro player. So Peanut saying, yeah, so our head coach Nofe actually does give me a lot of advantage. It gives him a lot of advice saying, hey, if you can't use your Qs, then I'm still going to, then you're going to be infamous like me. So a little bit of motivation there, but saying that, yeah, their head coach Nofe does still help him out. So the Rocks Tigers really looking good today. And Peanut definitely agreeing there. He said he definitely believes that it is their strong fundamentals that allows them to continue to give repeated good performances. And Peanut finally thanking the audience for coming down to the Nexon Arena to come see them and cheer them on, because it's been a while since they've been able to showcase their skills in front of a Korean audience. So he hopes that they'll all come out to their matches in Busan in the round of 4. And so that is going to be it for our MVP interview. One last final announcement regarding Sohwan's pause. Again, there was a mechanical error with the mouse, but do want to reiterate that they did decide to continue the game. That'll be it for our semifinals, our quarterfinal series. We will see you guys in Busan for the semifinals.
So bright, you burn me up tonight. Say my name, I'll be. I can't stop thinking about you. I can't stop wanting you this way. I can't face living without you. That's why I'm searching night and day. This heart's a lonely hunter. These hands are frozen fists. I can't stop thinking about you. I don't care if you exist. Do I hear laughter from behind this veil of the night? What are you hiding in the frozen heart of winter? Somewhere a church bell tolls.